What's up guys, Bearded Jeeper here, and today we're getting some work done on Project Zip Tie. We're gonna go from this thin sheet metal to this much stronger plated unibody. We're gonna be installing frame strengtheners on the other side. So I spent all of last weekend getting this side installed. Now it didn't take me all weekend, but I only had limited time to work on it, and there's a lot of cutting and grinding to get this installed. I wanted to get one side installed, one side together, so I knew all the little tricks and secrets, so I can give you guys a how-to guide on how to install these. I got these from Affordable Off-Road. I'm going to link them down below in the description, so if you want to get a set, you can check them out for yourself. Front frame stiffeners go for about 135 bucks, so that's really good pricing, and I really enjoyed them. There's a few little things that I didn't care for, but we'll go over that as we install these. Okay, on the driver's side, there's actually a little bit more to do than the passenger side. That's why I wanted to show this. So you're gonna have your 3 steering box bolts here, 1, 2, 3. You're gonna need to remove those, and your steering box will be in there all loose. I snapped off a bolt, so I'm gonna have to deal with that later, but these frame strengtheners still leave all these holes open so you can get to them. One thing that you're gonna have to do, well, besides removing, you have to remove your brake line here. It's just attached to the frame with a T something Torx bit. This brake line is held to the frame with a T30 bolt. One of these on a socket wrench really seems to work the best for getting those free. They're not too tight on there, but you do have to give them a little bit of force to get them off. Probably one of the biggest steps to this though is if you're going to reuse your stock lower control arm mount, then you're going to have to notch out the frame strengthener a little bit to fit around that. But I'm going long arms, so I'm not going to need them. A lot of the long arm kits, or most of them that I know of, cut this off anyway. So I went ahead and cut off the lower control arm bracket. Now this is a real pain in the butt. There's quite a few layers, spot welds you have to drill out. It's a pain. I spared you that process. I didn't want this to be an hour-long video of me cutting and grinding, getting that off. So now what we got to do is hold the frame strengtheners up here. It comes in 3 pieces, and we will mark out where we need to grind away the paint and anything else, and I'm just going to grind away in these rust spots, and that way we can know exactly where we need to weld. And you're going to want to get yourself some big C-clamps to clamp around the unibody here to hold these metal strengtheners up until you can get a tack weld on them. But we're going to go ahead and trace out where we need to install these. I forgot to mention, you have to take out your track bar mount that goes right here. This is an aftermarket one, but you have to unbolt this guy, drop him down. Now make sure you don't keep this rag anywhere where sparks are going to get to. You're going to have a fire. Ask me how I know. It can be kind of tricky getting these clamps lined up, and so you pinch in this to actually sit flat against the unibody itself, but if you get it as flat as you can, it's It's gonna make for an easier time welding. Alright, so it's a new day, and we got most of this welded up last night. This morning, I'm going to heat this up and pound it over with a hammer to weld underneath the frame here. We'll get that all set, welded up. We'll grind her down, put some paint on her. Should be all done. The con of these frame stiffeners is you don't have access to your upper control arm bolt on this backside anymore, so you have to drill a hole if you want to get to that. Okay, so we got her all welded up. Now we're gonna grind the welds down flat, throw some primer on and some paint. Some of the beads turned out better than others. Like those turned out pretty well. These were kind of built up a little bit, but those will knock down with the grinder. I had to fill a bigger gap here. And also I realized I was keeping the nozzle a little too far away. When I put it closer, we got more decent beads like that. So we're gonna clean it up, throw some paint on it. Now grinding all those welds down, especially the higher welds I had, is a pain. It's very dusty. I didn't grind this side down as well as I did the other side, but it's gonna work. It's gonna do with some paint and some primer and some paint. It'll be good as new. All cleaned up. Not perfect, but with some paint and primer, she'll look just as good as the other side. We got a coat of primer on. It's looking pretty good. And we'll just gotta throw the paint on once that dries. Okay guys, while this is drying here, I'm going to give you a few suggestions when you're putting these on yourself. Remember, they don't have to be perfect. They're just plate going to strengthen what's already there. And you definitely can't go too hot with the welder for too long. You will burn through. And I did burn through a couple of times. I was able to patch it up. You just gotta go slow, start and stop, let it cool. It's kind of a pain. You don't always get the best beads, but I think it's a really great way to learn how to weld, because there's a lot of stuff to weld and grind, and you just got to be prepared that it's not going to be perfect. But the main point is it's strong, and it's going to help prevent cracking of the unibody, and it's going to make it a whole lot tougher and a good spot where we can mount anything we need to on it and not have to worry about burning through the thin sheet metal. MAP gas torch actually comes in handy. doing these bends. Sometimes you have bigger gaps than you wanted, depending on how straight or crooked your unibody is. It does have a little bit of a curve to it, so you have to kind of contour the metal, persuade it with the hammer to get up into position, and you might need to heat it up. That helps a lot in positioning it to get it so you can weld it in place. As long as you get it in one spot, you can tack it and then keep going until you get as close as you can. It won't always be 100% perfect. It does go together really well. It links together pretty good. I got better on this side than I did on the other side. I had some bigger gaps. You want to make sure you grind off as much of that lower control arm mount as you can. These big obnoxious pieces, those are a pain to cut off, but it makes this fitting around here really well. I'd have to say one of the cons in this kit is you lose access to this upper control arm mount hole. Not that I'm gonna need it because I'm gonna go long arms anyway, but if you're keeping your vehicle stock, you'd have to drill out a hole in order to access the backside of that nut still. One thing I really do like about this kit is it comes further than the unibody, so it gives you a spot to actually mount the bumper. You can see the other frame rail over there. It comes out, gives you holes to mount whatever bumper or winch or whatever you're gonna mount. Mount it right there. You got something strong and secure on the front of your bumper. Now this is set for their bumpers, but I'm sure you can modify it or modify your bumper to work with what you need and be able to mount up anything. Why this does require a welder and it requires you to weld, you don't have to be the best welder. Like I said, this is only going on to reinforce what's already there. So as long as you have some welding skill, this is, I feel, a good project to really get going and learning welding. You're going to weld quite a bit with this. So that was my main goal, is to teach myself a little bit more on welding a little bit better. And I mean, I definitely learned quite a few tricks, and I could see the puddle better, manipulating the puddle. It was definitely a really good learning experience, and I still have the mids and the rears to go. So definitely don't let the fact that you have to weld it deter you. If you even have a little bit of a welding experience, just practice a little bit before you get going and it'll turn out well. But I highly suggest you get a welding jacket. I just recently got this one after doing the other side and realizing it burns the crap out of you. You get weld splatter everywhere when you're up in that wheel well, and when you're overhead welding, it definitely is not fun getting burnt. So make sure you invest in a quality welding jacket. I got this one for like 30 bucks. They're not super expensive. And that side will look exactly like this once we get the black paint on it. I'm not gonna wait for that to dry and do all the coats of paint, and I want to get this video out so you guys know how to install it. Once again, this kit is from Affordable Off-Road. I will link it in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself. It's a really great kit, and 3 pieces, clean it up, weld it on. It's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. Now, if you have any questions on installing this kit, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'd love to help you out and get this installed in your Cherokee. Be prepared. It is definitely a lot of work, but you're gonna enjoy it, and it's gonna make your Jeep stronger because of it. So, as always, guys, stay bearded, stay Jeepin'. I'm out.